Hey everybody, Jim the Tabletop Engineer, and welcome to a new video. I play a lot of war games, I play a lot of RPGs, and one of the elements of those games is miniatures, and I enjoy painting miniatures. Now, when I paint miniatures, I'm not going for like award-winning type quality of work, all right? My philosophy is get some paint on it so that I can quicker get it to the table so I can play with it in the games I play with. But I still enjoy doing a good job when I paint a miniature. Now, one of the things I don't like about painting miniatures is it's sort of monotonous. Here in my workshop, I do not have a dedicated space for painting my miniatures. I'll paint them on this table, I'll paint them on the table over there, which is my work table. I don't paint them on my new gaming table because I'm worried about spilling. But if I paint miniatures in the basement at all, I don't have a spot. Now this is something I designed a while back. I call it the PortaPainter. It's a small toolbox and it opens like this, and inside it are a bunch of paints. Now, I designed this to carry 24 of the MegaPainter Speedpaints, these little objects right here. I became so taken with these Speedpaints that I invested in a bigger box, which I think came with like 50 or so, and not really duplicates. So right now I have about, I don't know, 70 or so of the Speedpaints. I'm totally taken with them. Now, I still rely on standard MegaPainter, like here's plate metal. This is not a speed paint. I have some non-MegaPainter paints, such as this Vallejo gloss varnish here that I like its version. I have some washes. Now these are MegaPainter washes with the red caps. So this box, unfortunately, I've grown out of it. It does not hold all my speed paints, and of course, as you can see in the middle shelf here, the paints are just sort of haphazardly thrown in there. And then in the top lid here, I keep my brushes, my magnifiers, and some more paints because I just ran out of spaces to keep all the different paints that I like to use. This has served me well for about a year. Again, I've taken it everywhere. I took it on vacation. I like to go and sit on the patio and paint. I've taken this to the gaming store and sat down and painted. I like to paint my miniatures in other locations other than in my workshop. I spend so much time here that this was something I wanted just so I could have a reason to leave the workshop and paint my miniatures elsewhere. Now, as I said, I've grown out of this. So, when you grow out of something that's not as big as what you need, what do? You go bigger. So, in this video, I'm going to show you the replacement for the PortaPainter. I don't have a name for it yet. Right now I'm calling it the MegaPainter. I'm not going to open it just yet and show you what's inside. Instead, what I want to do real fast, maybe not fast, I want to go over some of the ways I made this, including some of the things that are inside it. It's not finished yet. The only thing I really lack right now is a carrying handle, but it buckles on the side, hinged on the back. It opens up like a book, but it stands upright. So let me show you real quick some of the things that went into getting this made, and then I will share with you the interior. All right. When I started this project, I had a few goals in mind. I wanted to be able to carry somewhere around 75 paint bottles, the MegaPainter paint bottles. So what you're looking at here is an application called Tinkercad. It's an online CAD application. I've used it for so long, I can pretty much, I work much faster in this than some of the more advanced CAD applications. And the first thing I started out with was basically creating a bottle. So what you're looking at here are the dimensions of the standard MegaPainter bottle, which is almost 3 inches tall. You can see it's 2.9. The width is about 1 inch. I just put in 1.024 to give myself a little bit of extra so it wouldn't be real super tight. Then I had to decide, how many bottles can I fit in this thing? Well, I played around with different orientations, 10 on a lower, 10 on an upper. I did 15 on a lower, 14 on an upper. I played around with a lot of different ones, and the reason for that was I was trying to figure out what was going to work best to carry the number of paints I wanted, but also keep the MegaPainter at a reasonable size. And what I came up with was a specific size, and then once I had the size, I created this little tray. It holds 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 bottles on the front, and then 11 on a higher rack behind it. I did this so that I could see the labels easier and be able to pick the paints that I'm looking for. I created the frame around it. I created these individual pieces here that have the circles that will hold the bottles so they don't, wiggle around and fall out. Then I laser cut pieces and transferred them to the laser cutter and cut them out. I cut them out of 1/4 inch plywood. What you can't see here are the notches. I used another piece of software to add notches so that the pieces all fit together, and so they're more rigid. I'm going to put a picture up right now of the finished product, or the finished shelf. Now, my other goal was I didn't want to glue these shelves in. I wanted these shelves to be able to be pulled out and put back in so that they could themselves be portable. What I ended up with was 4 of these. Initially, I created just 3, and I thought I could get away with just the 3. 3 times 23 is 69, so 69 paints in all. But when I started putting the thing together, I quickly realized that I had enough space on one other side, on the opposite side, where I could put a 4th tray. So I ultimately ended up with 4 trays, 92 paints, right? Is that right? Yeah. So I can hold quite a bit of paints. So this is the tray.
Check out the new RPG and Wargame newsletter. Each week, the Tabletop Engineer shares news, products, Kickstarters, and much more related to the gaming hobby. It's free to subscribe, so check out the link in the video description below to sign up.
Here is sort of my final rendition of the MegaPainter. Now, this came in, bits and pieces. I didn't assemble everything all at once. What I did was I cut out 4 trays, or 3 trays actually. Remember, I started with these 3. I didn't add this one until later. And then what I did was I created a box around it. The box would have a certain depth, a certain height, and a certain width to hold these bottles in a tray or in a shelf like that, okay? So they could be easily removed. I gave them very loose tolerances so they can pull in and out easy, but not so loose that they wiggle around and move in there. There's probably about a 32nd of an inch on either side. So when you're carrying it, you'll hear the bottle sort of, in there, but it's not enough that everything moves around violently. I designed the top, left, right, and bottom, and then of course the back panel back here to frame all this. I laser cut that out, added the tabs, and the shelves, by the way, the brown pieces right here, there are 2 of those. They actually have notches that fit into the sides here, and when you see the actual MegaPainter, I'll point those out to you so you can see them. All right, so I laser cut that, glued it all together, fit everything. Usually I have to prototype something more than once to get it exactly the way I wanted. In this case, my first time cutting out the box, it was perfect. I consider that a victory, and that's one of the advantages of working with CAD is you can get very exact measurements that you can then transfer to the laser cutter. If you look at this, it's 2.232 inches deep. Now you think that's a really odd number, but it knows the width of the bottle carriers and the width of the plywood, so it's able to give me some very accurate numbers that I can pass on to the laser. So I get this in this case, the first time it was cut, it worked. Once I did that, I cut out a second one for the second half. This thing was empty, so I created the box here, and it had a certain amount of space in it. Before I added this 4th one, I wanted this to carry certain things. I wanted to have drawers, pull-out drawers, that would hold brushes, snips, files, anything that was sort of loose that I use when I paint or get minis prepped. I wanted them stored. Now, the other thing I do, and some of you may have seen this in other videos where I paint miniatures, I use these dowels. These are 1-inch diameter dowels, and I put a piece of double-sided tape on top. I stick the mini to it, and I use it to hold it and rotate it around while I paint. I wanted the MegaPainter to be able to hold a certain number of dowels with the miniatures already taped to them and primed, so that when I travel, I could paint. Now, before I put these drawers in, I had them, first off, I had 2 long drawers up here, and I had like a dozen, actually it was more like 2 dozen, of these dowels. I think I had like 12 on the front and 11 on the back, or maybe it was 10 and 9. I think it was 10 and 9. So it could hold a lot of minis, but I rarely ever paint that many minis in a go. So ultimately what I did was I decided 7, 4 in the back, 3 in the front. You can see this little tray here that will hold, I cut holes in it to match the dowels. There is a place at the bottom down here, this brown plate, I cut holes in it so that the dowels would have 2 places to slide into, and just like the bottles, it would sort of lock them in place. The enclosure here is removable if I want, but I made it very tight tolerant, so it's held in there very tight. The 2 drawers, I cut them to a certain size, basically to give myself enough room to put my long paintbrushes in there. I glued this whole structure in, this frame right here, and then the drawers, like I said, are removable. Once that was glued in, I knew how much space I had here, so I created this frame, and with the drawers, or these little shelves here to hold the dowels. This whole piece is solid, but the top part here is removable. Why did I do that? I did that so that I could pull the dowels out. If you glue this on, you can't get the angle to get these dowels out when they have miniatures on them. Then I had all this space left. Well, I was like, what am I going to do with that? Well, my first thought was I'll just leave it blank. And as I discover new things that I want to carry with this box, I'll have room to grow. I started thinking about it. I started using the box, and nothing was coming to mind. But what was really annoying was there were some paints, non-speed paints, that I was reaching for out of my old box, the old PortaPainter. And I ultimately decided, you know what, I'm just going to add a 4th level in here. So I added a 4th one, printed and glued in a shelf. And so now what I'm left with is this area in here that I've left blank intentionally. And that will be for future ideas. Maybe one of my viewers will have an idea and say, oh, this would be cool. And if I like it, maybe I'll add it. Let me show you some short snippet videos of everything going together, and then I'll introduce you to the final product. All right, so here is the box so far. I made this little shelf that is going to go right in here. And then I designed 2 little drawers. They don't have pull-off knobs. They just have a hole so you can just finger pull them out. And these just, go in normally. And they'll hold things like brushes and files and things like that I use related to the painting of miniatures or the basing of miniatures. And so all I've got to do right now is glue this in. All right, so here it is, again, minus the handle on top. Still haven't figured that one out yet. Gotta try to decide whether I want a strap or a carry handle. All right, so on this side are clasps, and they're nice and tight. So you open them up, and it opens like a book, just like this. So over here you have 3 removable trays of paint, and then here's the extra one that I added. Down here, let me come around here real quick. Down here you have 2 removable drawers. There's my brushes. In here I've got some snips. I've got a dry brush, some files, some double-sided tape, some scissors, just, you know, whatever I think I need in there. I haven't decided yet, but I may include some blank dowels if I'm out on vacation or something and I find some miniatures I want to paint. If I've already got this loaded up, I want to be able to add some more. So I may throw a couple blank dowels in one of these drawers, or maybe I'll just add a little tray without a top up here to throw some in. But again, here's all the empty space that I have to expand it. Now here is the removable top, which allows you to remove the dowels with the miniatures. You put them back in, they have a little hole down at the bottom that holds them, and then of course this can just go on to protect them in case I have something up here. It closes up nice, and let's see. So it's got a nice strong, I love these clasps. They lock it up nice and good. Now weight-wise, I know you think it's heavy. I should probably get a scale and weigh it. It's, I don't know, 15 pounds. It's not bad. It's not bad at all. When it has a handle, it will be even easier to carry, although I have considered on one side and on the other putting a strap so you could shoulder strap it. You can see the hinges back here. And I also mentioned, you can see these holes right here. That's where those shelves lock in place. But I haven't done anything decorative, probably won't. I guess I could put stickers on it. You know, if I wanted to, I could have put a logo on this, or, you know, who knows, paint it. I could have painted the whole thing. But for me, personally, this is what I want. I want something that's portable, that I can take with me. It's not an unusual shape, rectangular case, so it could fit in with luggage and things like that. Definitely probably will take it to conventions, vacation, getaways, that kind of thing, but definitely would not fly with it. Because I couldn't check it and I couldn't put it in an overhead bin. There you go, the MegaPainter. Again, this was just a special project of mine, not something I intend to, you know, sell, mainly because it took a while to make. It took 2 full sheets of plywood, 2 foot by 4 foot. I went through 2 sheets of that. I went through four hinges, 2 clasps. What else? A lot of glue. Yeah, it's labor intensive, and I don't think I could I could certainly sell them, but the cost would be prohibitive. I don't think anybody would want one. Again, it was really just a one-off, and I hope you like it. I hope you enjoyed watching the video of how I made it. Now, lastly, before I go, if you are interested in some more details about how I designed certain aspects, I'm going to add a second video along with this one. I think it's shorter, but it's a narrated video where I show you how I designed the dowel holder, how I designed it in Inkscape or Tinkercad, then Inkscape, and then how I laser cut it. And I did that just because I figured somebody might want to know a little bit more detail about the CAD element of it. I didn't want to go too deep in this video, but so I'll post that one. If you're interested, it will be there, and you can get a little more detail, nitty-gritty about how I did some of this. All right, that's all I got. This is Jim, the Tabletop Engineer. Thanks for joining me as I showed you my MegaPainter, for lack of a better name. And I'll be back very soon with another video. Till then, everybody, take care.